You know that feeling, right? That strange, unsettling moment when you realize the internet seems to know what you've been talking about, not just what you've been searching for? Well, let's take a closer look at this very modern mystery. So, let's set the scene. You're chatting with a friend about maybe taking up pottery. You haven't searched for it, you haven't typed it, nothing. A little while later, you're scrolling through your feed, and there it is, an ad for pottery wheels and beginner classes. The immediate thought is, my phone must be eavesdropping. But is that what's really going on? Okay, let's tackle that idea head-on. Is your phone's microphone secretly recording your private conversations just to target you with ads? The evidence points to something else entirely. It seems that, for the most part, this is actually a myth.
Now, the reason for this isn't really about corporate goodwill. It's much more about cold, hard logistics. For a huge tech company to constantly record, upload, and then process audio from billions of phones, it's just not a feasible strategy. Let's break down exactly why that is.
The roadblocks are pretty practical. First, the data. Streaming audio 24/7 would absolutely crush your mobile data plan. You would definitely notice it on your bill. Second, your phone's battery would be dead in a few hours. You'd feel that every single day. And finally, the risk. Can you imagine if a company got caught doing this? The legal and public relations nightmare would be astronomical.
So, if your phone isn't constantly recording everything, what is it doing? Well, it's passively listening for a wake phrase. You can think of it like a dog that perks up only when it hears its name. The device is designed to ignore pretty much all other sounds until it hears that one specific trigger. Everything else is just background noise.
And here's the technical difference, which is actually pretty important. Passive listening uses a tiny, very low-power chip and processes sound in a small, constantly overriding loop right on your device. Nothing gets sent or saved. It barely affects your battery. But active recording, what happens after you say, "Hey Siri," that fires up the main processor, connects to the cloud, and uses a whole lot more power and data. They're two completely different states of being for your phone.
Okay, so if the microphone isn't the spy, then what is? Well, the truth is a lot more complex, and honestly, maybe even more revealing. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do. So let's look at the real tracker, your digital footprint. Every single click, every search, every place you visit, every app you open, these are all signals. They're like digital breadcrumbs that create this incredibly detailed trail of your habits, your interests, and what you're planning to do. And this trail is incredibly precise. Just think about the sheer amount of data collected by data brokers, companies whose whole business is to build profiles of us. They see where you go, what you buy, the websites you visit. They even create what's called inferred data, making educated guesses about your life. So they don't need to hear you talk about pottery. They just need to see that your phone was near a known art studio for about 30 minutes. The scale of this data collection is just vast. One data broker, for example, reported processing 15 billion location signals every single day. Your daily movements are just a few drops in this massive ocean of data.
But just collecting all this data is only the first step. The real power, the real magic, comes from using it to predict what we're all going to do next, specifically what you're going to do next.
You know, this quote from someone online really nails it. The reality isn't a secret microphone. It's a system that's gotten so good at analyzing our behavior that it honestly feels like it's reading our minds.
So here's the crucial part. The system doesn't need to hear you and your friend talk about pottery. Why? Because the algorithm might already know your friend started following pottery accounts last week. It knows you're in a similar demographic, you live nearby, and you were just in the same place together. For an algorithm, showing you a pottery ad isn't a coincidence. It's a high probability guess.
And this tracking isn't just stuck on one device. Something called cross-device tracking links up your activity across all your gadgets, your phone, your laptop, even your smart TV, to create one big unified profile of you. But there is one fascinating bit of technology where the microphone is used, just not in the way you'd think. It's called ultrasonic beacons. A TV ad or display in a store can emit a super high-frequency sound, totally inaudible to us, that an app on your phone can hear. It's not recording what you say, but it is using the microphone to confirm, hey, this phone was in the room when this specific ad was playing. Look, understanding all of this can feel a little daunting, I get it, but you're not powerless. You can actually take some specific steps to limit this tracking and manage your digital footprint. Let's go through some of the most effective ones. For all you iPhone users, there's a really key setting in your privacy options.
If you turn off Allow apps to request to track, you stop apps from sharing your unique ad ID with each other. This makes it a lot harder for them to build that single, unified profile of you across different services. And for Android users, your Google account settings are mission control. In there, you can review your web and app activity and your location history. You can even set this data to automatically delete itself after a few months. Now, this doesn't stop the collection, but it does stop a lifelong history from being built up.
And then there are some good habits that apply to everyone. Go through your app permissions once in a while. Ask yourself, does this game really need my location or microphone? If there's no good reason, just turn it off. Think of it like a little digital spring cleaning.
So when you put it all together, it becomes pretty clear that the question we started with might have been a bit misdirected. We've been so focused on one possibility, while the really significant stuff was happening somewhere else entirely.
Ultimately, the big takeaway here is a shift in perspective. The question isn't really about a machine that might be listening in. It's about what our own actions, our own digital signals, are telling a predictive machine about what we're about to do, what we want, and maybe